வணக்கம். இன்றைய இணையத்தில் இணைந்திருக்கும் உங்க எல்லோருக்கும் என்னுடைய வரவேற்பும் வணக்கமும் அன்பும். பொதுவா நாடகம்ன்றது ஒரு சமூகத்திற்கு மிக மிக அவசியமான ஒன்றாக இருக்கிறது. அது நவீன நாடகங்களாகட்டும், மரபு வழி நாடகங்களாகட்டும். இன்னைக்கு நாம விவாதிக்க போறது, தெரிஞ்சுக்க போறது, பகிர்ந்துக்க போறது பயன்பாட்டியல் நாடகங்களின் அவசியம் பற்றி. வழக்கமாக நாடகங்கள் என்பது ஒரு பொழுதுபோக்காக, ஒரு கதையை சொல்கின்ற விஷயமாக அல்லது ஒரு கருத்தை பரப்புகின்ற விஷயமாகத்தான் இருக்கிறது. ஆனால் பயன்பாட்டியல் நாடகங்கள் எந்த வகையில் அந்த நாடகங்களிலிருந்து மாறுபட்டவை, ஏன் அது அதிமுக்கியமானவை என்பதை நாம் இந்த கருத்தரங்கிலே பார்க்க போகின்றோம். வழக்கமாக நாடகங்களை பார்வையாளர்கள் ஒரு பக்கம் இருப்பார்கள், அதை ஒரு பக்கம் மேடையில் இருப்பார்கள். இரண்டும் தனித்தனியாக இயங்குகின்ற ஒரு சூழ்நிலை இருக்கும். ஆனால் இந்த பயன்பாட்டியல் நாடகத்தில் அதில் பங்கு பெறுபவர்களே ஒரு புதிய அனுபவத்தையும் அதில் பார்வையாளர்கள் கலந்து கொண்ட ஒரு சூழலும் உருவாக்குகிறது. இது வழக்கமாக ஒரு கதையை, ஒரு கருத்தை எடுத்துக்கொண்டு பல இடங்களில் நடத்துகின்ற ஒரு நாடகம் அல்ல. அந்தந்த சூழலில் அந்தந்த இடத்தில் பங்கு பெறுபவர்களின் மனோநிலை, அவசியம், இதை மையப்படுத்தி ஒரு நாடகம் உருவாக்கப்படுகிறது, ஒரு நாடகம் பயிற்சி செய்யப்படுகிறது, ஒரு நாடகம் அரங்கேற்றப்படுகிறது. அந்த பங்கு பெறுபவர்களின் மனநிலையை பகிர்ந்து கொள்வதற்காக பார்வையாளர்களும் அதில் பங்கு பெறுவார்கள் என்பதுதான் இதனுடைய அடிப்படை நியதி. இது மிக அவசியம். இன்றைக்கு இருக்கின்ற அரசியல் சூழலில், பொருளாதார சூழலில் இந்த வகை நாடகங்கள் மிகவும் அவசியம். இதில் தங்களுடைய அனுபவத்தையும் தங்களுடைய அறிவையும் பகிர்ந்து கொள்ள நம் நாட்டிலிருந்து பல்வேறு இடங்களிலிருந்து மிகச்சிறந்த நாடகவியலாளர்கள், பேச்சாளர்கள் கலந்து கொள்கிறார்கள். மிஸ்ஸஸ் மாயா கிருஷ்ணா ராவ், மிஸ்டர் பிரளயன், மிஸ்டர் அனீஸ், மிஸ்டர் தெம்சன் ஜுங்பா கேச்சு, டாக்டர் ருத்ரன் அவர்கள், மிஸ்டர் ஹவுஸ்தூப் பங்காபூரே, திரு இலுக்கப்பா கட்டிமணி, மிஸ்டர் பிரவீன் ஜெயின், மிஸ்டர் பாலகிருஷ்ணன், மிஸ் நிகிதா தெரேசா சர்க்கார், இவர்கள் எல்லாம் தங்களுடைய அனுபவத்தையும் அறிவையும் நம்மோடு பகிர்ந்து கொள்கிறார்கள். இவர்களை இணைக்க மிகவும் பாடுபட்ட திரு சுபாஷ் ராவத் அவர்கள், தீப்தி, இவர்கள் இருவருக்கும் என்னுடைய நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். இந்த நிகழ்விற்கு 5W நாடகக்குழு, உயிர்மை நாடகக்குழு, அடவு மையம், கலிடாஸ்கோப் மையம், ஸ்தாயி நாடகக்குழு மற்றும் முக்கியமாக KPR-CAS கல்லூரி, இவர்கள் எல்லோரும் இந்த நிகழ்வுக்கான ஒரு முக்கிய காரணகர்த்தாக்களாக இருக்கிறார்கள். இவர்கள் எல்லோருக்கும் நன்றி கூறி உங்களை இந்த புதிய அனுபவத்திற்கு அழைக்கின்றேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
வணக்கம். Welcome friends. Now I will try to introduce my Krishna Rao ma'am in Tamil and our friend Lakshmi will introduce in English. So இன்றைய நிகழ்வு கருத்தாளர் மாயா கிருஷ்ண ராவ் அவர்கள் பயன்பாட்டியல் நோக்கில் நாடகம் ஒரு பரந்த பார்வை என்ற தலைப்பில் பேசவிருக்கிறார். மாயா அவர்கள் நாடக கலைஞர், பல ஆண்டுகள் மேடை அனுபவம் கொண்டவர். புது வகை வடிவங்களுடன், புது முயற்சிகளுடன் இவர் செய்து வருகிற தனிநபர் நாடகங்களுக்காக புகழ் பெற்றவர். சமகால அரசியல் பிரச்சனைகள் மற்றும் முக்கியத்துவம் வாய்ந்த பிரச்சனைகளை மையப்படுத்தி ஸ்டாண்ட் அப் காமெடிகளும் நிகழ்த்தி வருபவர். கோல்தோ, தி ஜாப், A Deeper Friend Jam, Heads Are Made for Walking Into, ராவணமா மற்றும் லூஸ் உமன் போன்ற தலைசிறந்த நாடகங்களை பிற கலைஞர்களுடன் இணைந்து உருவாக்கி நடித்து வருகிறார். பல்வேறு நாடுகளில் நாடக விழாக்களில் கலந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறார். தியேட்டர் யூனியன் என்கிற வீதி நாடக குழுவின் நிறுவன உறுப்பினர். இந்த குழு பல்வேறு சமூக அரசியல் பிரச்சனைகளை மையப்படுத்திய நாடகங்களை தயாரிக்கிறது. அவற்றில் மாயாராவ் அவர்கள் உதவியுடன் வரதட்சணை பற்றி எழுதப்பட்ட ஓம் சுவாகா என்ற நாடகம் இவரால் இயக்கி நடிக்கப்பட்டது.
Thank you, sir. We welcome you all to day 1 of Dimensions of Applied Theatre webinar. Today we have with us our maiden speaker Maya Krishna Rao to speak on the topic Applied Theatre and Overview. Maya is a theatre artist who has worked on and off stages for several years. She is particularly known for her solo performances that have a distinctive form and style. She does stand up comedy built on current political events and popular issues. Some of her celebrated performances are Cold Do, The Job, A Deep Fried Jam, and Heads Are Meant for Walking Into. Her shows have traveled to several countries and places at home and have been received with acclaim. She was founder member of Theatre Union, a street theatre group that dealt with critical issues to do with women in our society, among them Om Swaha, a play on dowry that she co-wrote and directed and also performed in. Maya has learned and performed Kathakali, specializing in the male role, and that continues to be an inspiration in the creation of contemporary performances today. Maya has a master's in theatre arts from Leeds, England. After her MA, she stayed on to work with one of England's prime theatre companies, specializing in creating theatre programs for children. Back home, she was associated with the NSD's Theatre and Education Company, creating programs based on Indian history. Today, she leads workshops on theatre as a methodology to raise and explore themes and issues of social interest.
Hello.
Yeah, this is a convention. And this is what happens in Romeo and Juliet. The cousin of Juliet finds Romeo on the street and says, come on, let's have a battle. And immediately they're battling, which means the rules of social interaction are, I can kill you, you can kill me. Yeah? So that is another underlying theme of the play. What are the norms, the conventions of society and social interaction? And a theatre company can say, we are using Romeo and Juliet. Of course, we'll deal with the love story, but our prime aim is also to look at what are the kind of social conventions existing in society. And while we deal with the love story, let us also bring into focus the ways of social interaction. Now, you having got that, so there's so many ways of dealing with Romeo and Juliet. The whole difference lies in what is the intention. What is the intention of the company? What is the intention of the public that is coming to watch the play? Now, applied theatre it got its very name because the intention has changed. Instead of the intention being a group of people will come to the theatre, remember that in regular theatre, usually speaking, the audience comes to the theatre, they may or may not buy a ticket, and the theatre company sets up a play, the audience sits down, and for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, we say that the audience is getting entertained and the actors are acting. In applied theatre, all this breaks down. All this breaks down. There is no rule that the audience will come to the actors. The actors could be going to the audience. It could be to a commune. And actually, very, very importantly, usually applied theatre, 99% of applied theatre is never, ever held in an auditorium. This is what makes applied theatre different from all other practices of theatre. Audience never comes to a theatre, never comes to an auditorium. Because why? The intention is that this whole theatre making exercise was for a different kind of benefit for the audience. Not simply come to watch our play. That's not the intention. Come to watch our play is not the intention. There is another intention, which is that we, the theatre company, it can be a group of people, we want to take up some issues that are real for some part of the society, not all of society, some part of the society, we want to deal with some issues that impact on some sections of society. And so we will come to you. We, the theatre experience, will come to you. You will not come to the theatre. Because as we all know, the theatre auditorium, that house, every state has a Rangashala, yeah? That has its own history. And the history of that Rangashala is that it has always done plays for entertainment. And now Applied Theatre says, no, thank you very much. We don't want that. We want to go to the people. We may set up a Rangashala in the middle of the park of a residential colony. But when the people come to watch that play in that new Rangashala, they will be entering not the old Rangashala. And so their whole perspective of watching the theatre will be different. So please get this. This is a very big intention of Applied Theatre. We want to go to the people. And therefore, we don't perform in the theatre. Number two, we want to pick up some issues that impact on society. And so we will set up a different kind of actor-audience relationship. The audience will not keep quiet, because it is the audience that is experiencing those real issues. So they must participate in the business of making the play, if it is a play. But actually in Applied Theatre, everything is not a play. Let's say the audience must participate in this theatre making exercise, because they are the ones facing the real issues. So Applied Theatre has broken down the theatre. It has broken down the idea of audience. There's no more audience. And there was this very famous man who is responsible for setting up Applied Theatre as we know it today, and went all over the world. And his name is Augusto Boal, B-O-A-L. You will find lots of stuff on the internet. He's a Brazilian, and he worked in Brazil. He died in 2000, and I don't know, 2006, 7, something. But he worked in Brazil. I won't go into his history because this session is not for that. But he started this idea of going to people and using theatre to do with their real issues. And he termed this, he gave a new word for the idea of audience. He called them spect-actor. So we know the word spectator, somebody who watches, spectator. But he called them spect-actor, which means you will both watch and do. What is the actor's job is to do, yeah, we do. I'm an actor, actually. I'm not an Applied Theatre expert. I'm an actor. So our job is to do. So the whole Applied Theatre experience is to convert the audience into watchers and doers. And also, then the actor in the Applied Theatre experience is no more simply actor. They can become multiple things. And one important word that we use in Applied Theatre is facilitator. So it is the job of the theatre people who have organized the theatre experience to facilitate. I'm sure everybody knows the word facilitate, which means to make easy, to make possible the connection between the theatre that is going on and the bunch of spectators, how to make that connection easy and raise questions and begin to look for answers. That is the job of the facilitator. So this role of the facilitator is very important in an Applied Theatre experience, because that is the person who makes the connection between what's going on in the theatre action and what's going on with the spectators. Now the spectators usually they have nothing to do with acting. They have only come to experience a theater, some theater which will address their problems. Remember that. Okay. Now, this is the broad idea of, I'm not going to go into too many details, but applied theater, therefore, throughout a lot of the traditional terms that we used in theater. Now, there are so many different kinds of applied theater. There is theater in education, which is done for schools or for students. And theater education is when a group of adult actors make a theater program and take it into the school. We call that theater in education. You can have drama in education, which is when the class teacher uses dramatic forms in the classroom. When the theater company, adult theater company, comes with theater in education from the outside, the school provides them a space. It's usually the school hall or the theater of the school. But when we have drama in education, it is usually the class teacher using theater devices and theater understanding to get her students directly to experience drama, and through the drama, they learn about life. So that's drama in education. So please remember that even in applied theater, both these terms are used: applied theater, applied drama. And applied theater usually refers to when a bunch of people have created a theater piece, they call spectators, and then the whole event is done. That is applied theater. Applied drama is, to give you an example, if I conduct, or one of you conduct a workshop for, let's say, school teachers about how to use drama in the classroom, then we may call that an applied drama workshop. Okay? So drama in education is for students always, for school. But applied theater and applied drama is for adults. This is a blanket. Now, within that, we have theater in education, as I said. We have theater for conflict resolution. So you have all heard of, we have theater for conflict resolution. We have had groups in Kashmir. How do we use theater to get people to think about who they are, what tensions are there in their lives, how do they want them resolved, how can they begin to negotiate for their lives? This is theater for conflict resolution. Then there is prison theater, where maybe just one person can go into the theater, or maybe and do a drama workshop with the prisoners. Or the prison can entertain, maybe, if the group wants it, maybe a bunch of 5 in a theater group go into the prison and they do a part play and a part workshop. And here again, prison theater, as I said, please keep in mind that initial intention of applied theater. We want to address some issue. I don't want to call it problem. Some issue to do with some section of society. This is very important in applied theater. And so now this group of people will go into the prison, and usually their intention is that when these people come out of prison, a good intention, I'm saying. Sometimes there are bad theater companies who think, oh, I'll go into prison and I'll teach them what it is not to be a criminal. In my mind, that is rubbish. Complete rubbish. Because people, as we know, commit crimes for different reasons. I am nobody as a theater person to go into the prison and tell them what they should be. But my job when I do prison theater, it certainly can be a very good intention to do a workshop or to do a theater event where I am helping the prison inmates to prepare them for what the world is like once they leave prison. Okay? So intention is very critical. I want to underline this because some of you, when you go out to do theatre, we'll come to this later. Some of you, when you go out, you must be very, very careful of your intention. And the moment you take the intention that I am going to teach the public, that is the end, believe me. You've had it. You are doing a very bad service to applied theatre. And what you are doing is manipulating people. Applied theatre can really only happen if the community that you are addressing or you are doing theatre with, not theatre for, theatre with, that they too have, they too see an issue that impacts their lives. It's not about you thinking they need this, so I'll go and teach them. No. They must feel the need. This is very, very critical. I'm underlining it many times. And that's why prison theatre, good prison theatre, we all know. Now I'm going to give you, for instance, I'll keep giving you examples. In Israel, I can't remember the name now, there was a prison theatre exercise done. And now this is very interesting and it's very challenging. I hope I'm not talking too fast. Anybody wants to can send me a message if I'm talking too fast. It's fine. Okay. Now prison theatre. Now here was, I won't go into the details, a group of girls came from the outside world to meet a group of men, male prisoners. And what was the intention of the work? This is a workshop. What was the intention of the workshop? And please, this is not easy. They are all women and they're all young women. And they're going into the prison. And of course, the prison authorities have completely worked out what it is they're going to do. They go in, they are going to help these male prisoners get ready to come out into the world. And there is also an intention for the group that has planned the whole thing. What is the intention for the young women? That through the drama workshop, they must also begin to question what are their ideas about crime, about criminology, who is a criminal. And it is only when these young women actually meet criminals that they will, for instance, start asking themselves questions. Okay, I'm standing in front of a murderer. And if I set up my drama workshop in a way that I begin to understand why he committed that murder, what is his class background, what was the moment of that murder? Did he actually intend to murder? What were the circumstances? So the drama workshop is designed in a way that these women, young women who are going in, they start questioning their own ideas of what is crime, criminology, who's a criminal. And further, has society and its rules, the judiciary, the legal system, have they actually thought through carefully what is the meaning of a criminal? And do we help criminals to reform within society, or do we just simply throw them into jail? So the drama workshop is equally for the participants as it is for the organizers of the workshop. So always remember, please, you people who will ever do a applied theatre workshop, whenever you design something, there must be something in it that you are going to learn.
Search for vehicles.
You are going to experience, you are going to be what we call in education significant learning. You are going to take away some learning. You are not simply going to give them bhasha and bhashan and education. No, that is a sign of a bad theatre workshop. Okay.
Hello.
Then there is museum theatre. Museum theatre is where, there are objects in the museum, and you then get permission from the museum authorities And some of those objects, we all know that objects usually in a museum are objects that people used to use. Yeah, you may in a museum you may find the what we call powder, yeah, what we plow the earth with. It is something that a farmer used, but the way the powder was designed in medieval India, not a powder. Powder actually has been very universal. What shall we say? A toy, a children's toy, a children's toy in Mohenjo-daro. Everybody's heard of Mohenjo-daro, yeah? Times. That is very ancient India. A little toy that a child played with is today sitting in the museum. And it's a toy that some real children played with in ancient India. And today you can, as a group, get permission and say, we want to put some chosen objects of the museum and we want to make them come to life. We want to be able to share with our participants what life was like in ancient India through some chosen objects of the museum. But as a good theatre company, you will also have another intention, not simply to bring to life. A good theatre company will also have another intention, an underlying intention. What are our notions of play? Ancient India had one kind of play. Today, how do we address play? Today, because of this internet screen, the idea of children playing has changed so much. They play through buttons of the keyboard. They don't so much play by, I'm going to give you a mukka, I'm going to do this. They don't give the mukka like that. They give the mukka through the button of the trackpad. So our notions of play have changed. So if you do a museum theater exercise, which is about toys and children playing, you will not leave it simply at, let me give you an idea of how in ancient India children played. No. You will still ask yourself, what is another intention I can give where I can pull out another deeper question, where you will also learn from the participants. And that is, like I said, the example, what was the notion of play in ancient India? What is our notion of play today? And out of the workshop, your intention could be that you're getting the participants to think, are we happy with this idea of play? That at least richer children who can afford, and most children can at least afford, they will grab their father's mobile phone and they'll play a game. They don't have to own a phone. So today, many children in India are playing on mobile phones. And your drama workshop can be addressing the question, are we happy with the way we now have the idea of play for children? The main wonderful thing about applied theatre, to my mind, is not so much change in society, but it is change in the way you think. Or change in somebody's mobile is ringing, and can you please put it off and audio off, please? So the main idea of applied theatre is to somewhere shift the way people think. Or even better, to get people to raise questions. So through your museum theatre exercise, maybe you have got people to think about, hey, the way our children play today, there's something not quite right with it. And if you're a school teacher, you will then keep it in your mind, and next time you meet your children, it will somewhere impact on the way you teach. So raising very good questions through applied theatre is a very good intention to have for a theatre exercise. All right? So that's museum theatre. Then I'll give you another example of playback theatre. There is something called playback theatre. You will find examples on the net. I mean, later on, if you people are interested, all these can be separate workshops. But so playback is exactly like the word says, you're playing back life. And so to give you a good example, everybody knows Palestine. Yeah, Palestine today does not have a home. It does not have a country. It has only people, and they are fighting to have their own homeland. And this has been going on for many, many, many decades now. So the idea of playback theater was used in Palestine, where groups of people were brought together, and they have no home, they have no homeland, they have been thrown out of their homes. They have a lot of memories of pain, of tragedy. And so this is a kind of form where a company, a theater company who are trained in playback theater, they will go to the community and they will listen to their stories. But they have trained themselves to listen in a very special way. And then this company of 4 or 5 people will reenact the story that the spectator, the I don't want to call them audience. Let's say the participant. The participant has given them story. Then the company enacts it. And what is the intention? The intention is that the person who gave the story can look at their own past and see what was happening, and through that begin to understand what is this business of having to give up a home, not to have a country, and more importantly, how do I deal with my pain? My pain is not just my own. It has been shared. It has been shared in this, maybe it's a 1-hour playback theater meeting. 4 or 5 stories are taken up. They are reenacted by the playback theater company. And then in that 1 hour or so, these stories have got shared. So my pain doesn't remain mine anymore. And I also begin to understand that my pain is the same as her pain and his pain and that one's pain. And we can actually talk to each other. We can find a way to talk to each other and help each other about our own individual pains. So this is somewhere, I'm putting it in very broad terms, somewhere the intention of playback theatre. I must add this. There is something called theatre of the oppressed. Now that was created by this man who I talked about, Augusto Boal, Augusto, and his surname is Boal. He is actually, if you like, somewhere, what should I say? He made the pillars of applied theatre very firmly, put them in the ground. Okay? And it's called Theatre of the Oppressed. But what I'd like to make clear to you is, please don't look at theatre of the oppressed like museum theatre and prison theatre and theatre in education. No. Today, theatre of oppressed is not a separate kind of theatre, but it is a theatre that gives you many kinds of exercises, games. It gives you an approach. How to look at designing a drama workshop. How to look at designing a theater event. Yeah? And if you read the books of Augusto Boal, there's one book, for instance, called Games for Actors and Non-Actors. It is just a whole bunch of exercises. But the main idea of his Theatre of the Oppressed was people who do not have, the have-nots of the society, who do not have decision-making power, who do not have decisions on property, who do not own property, who do not run property, who are the workers of this world. How do we give back to them a sense of who they are, what the nature of their oppression is, and for them to think about what to do with their oppression. So it's not the theatre company telling them, "Arey, you must do this, you must do that." The whole theatre exercise, the intention is that the participants through the event, will begin to understand the nature of their oppression and what they want to do with that oppression. So that is theatre of the oppressed in a nutshell. Now, applied theatre, let me tell you, only as a term, only started being used in the 1990s. Okay? So it's a very new term. And the reason for creating this term applied theatre was many scholars in universities and many practitioners of theatre outside universities started finding that all over the world people are doing various kinds of theatre now, not just in the auditorium. And we need what we call an umbrella term. Like an umbrella has so many different points, but it's still one big umbrella. So can we create an umbrella term that will bring together all these various theatre practices? And so the term applied theatre got made, coined. But it's only in the 90s. But please remember, things like theatre in education existed much before applied theatre. Okay, so theatre in education, if you like, came to Britain. They started thinking about it, that it didn't have that name, maybe the name was different, soon after the Second World War. When people needed to now go back to their homes, build their homes, there was so much trauma. That's when you start seeing the roots of applied theatre, not the term applied theatre. And theatre in education and drama in education, all these things start coming into schools, certainly in Britain as a kind of methodology in the 60s. 50s and 60s, 1950s, whereas applied theatre is only 90s. And please remember, it really is only an umbrella term. You can further read on the origins of applied theatre. As I said, Augusto Boal in Brazil, but the man who really created the philosophy for applied theatre was a man called Paulo Freire. Paulafreire. Now, he was also a Brazilian. He's like 10, 15 years Boal's senior, and influenced Boal a lot. And Paulo Freire wrote a book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Pedagogy simply means education. What should be the education for the people who are oppressed? It cannot be this current education. That's all wrong. So Paulo Freire gave a lot of attention to, and his some of his main pillars of his educational philosophy was that the current schooling system is simply what he called banking. It's like how you go to a bank and put money. So our school system is simply banking information. Second World War, 39, First World War, 1914. This is only giving children information. It's not giving them an understanding. This is number one. Number two, he said, for true education, the content of the education, the textbooks of the education, the chapters of social studies, history, has to be the history of the oppressed, not the history of kings and queens. Because it is only when you give the history of the oppressed people and you try and teach them A, B, C, D through their own history that they will get truly educated. If you try and give them education saying, what should I say? C for castle. Huh? Castle in English means lovely big fort, yeah? You can't say C for castle because that's another idea of education. You have to give them their own stories of oppression, and through that you have to give them literacy. So Paulo Freire changed the whole philosophy of education. And later on, Mr. Boal, who got very much influenced by Paulo Freire, he wrote a book called Theatre of the Oppressed. So Freire was Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and Boal was Theatre of the Oppressed. Now, let me tell you just a little bit about, what should I say now? Applied theatre can take on hundreds of forms. There is no, sky is the limit. Enna vena adu pannalam. Only thing is, you must never let the audience simply sit there passively. Now, please don't imagine that applied theatre cannot have a play. You can have a play. But how you made that play is very important. So, for instance, let's pick up our first example, Romeo and Juliet. If it is a company of actors rehearsing the play and going to an audience, that becomes straight theatre. But if a theatre company says, somebody, let's say, in a particular village in Tamil Nadu, says, there is a lot of tension in this village, and the youth are feeling the tension even more. The theatre company can tell itself, okay, let's pick up the play of Romeo and Juliet. Why? Because it will be very interesting for youngsters. But and who should we do the play with? The young people of that village. And maybe we'll get 2 or 3 people from, and everybody's a non-actor. Nobody's actor. Maybe some 1 or 2 actors of the theatre company say, we will also take a role. हम भी act करेंगे. लेकिन हमारा intention क्या है? For young people in this village to think about this village problems. And what is the medium we are choosing? We are choosing the play Romeo and Juliet. And through the rehearsal process will be very, very different from a regular theatre play. They will use, I'm sure people are, I want to give you an example of how a rehearsal can go. People, I'm sure, know the concept of a still image, that you can create a photograph. Yeah? So let's say on one day of the rehearsal, this is how the rehearsal goes, that 4 or 5 young people who have decided to be part of the Romeo and Juliet play, they create a still photograph where you only take a pose of that meeting, of that party where Romeo and Juliet first met. And in that party, of course, there were opposite camps. There's the camp of the Montague, camp of the Capulet. And you know that in this village also, there is some tension between 2 communities. But you are not giving a speech about it. Through creating this still photograph, somebody is drinking wine, somebody is already drunk. Romeo has just seen Juliet and he's completely fallen in love with her. Juliet's cousin is in the photograph and he has seen that maybe there is opposite camp ka aadmi hamare party ke andar kaise aa gaya. But it's a still picture. And then the facilitator, that is what I'm saying, this theatre company, the director, you could be that facilitator tomorrow. The young people have made that photograph, and then the rest of the youngsters who are also in the play, they look at this photograph and they start analyzing it. What does he look like? Oh, he looks surprised. Why is he surprised? Because he's seen his enemy in the party. Okay, what is he thinking? And the participants are giving the responses. He's thinking, bloody sala, tumko to main maar ke rakhunga. Jaan se maar dunga. How did you have the guts to come into my party? So the student, the participants are giving you the thoughts of the characters. And then later on, that photograph is dismantled. And then the whole group sits down to think about, oh, so he was thinking to kill him. How do you think he'll kill him? Oh, he'll call him to war now. He'll call him on the street and say, come on, take out your chaku, dekhte hain kaun jeeta is. Then you say, okay, so what kind of chaku is it really, really? So if you go on mana, he'll die. What will be the repercussion once he dies? Oh, the rest of his community will come up with chakus. All right, so there's going to be more killing. So what you are giving is, through the drama, you are giving these young people an opportunity to think And very, very important concept is to reflect. Enna solradhu in Tamil? Reflect. Reflect means to look back, to analyze, to think more. Yeah? Reflection is a very important intention of applied theatre. Now, let's say that this group, these young people who are non-actors, they have made a play called Romeo and Juliet. Maybe they've called it Rudra and Jeevani. Maybe that's the name of this new play. And they tell the rest of the village, Vango, come to watch our play. Now, here is a double applied theatre. First stage of applied theatre was young people were creating Romeo and Juliet. And they were gone through the process of thinking about their own community also. Then this whole play goes into the whole village. And the villagers come to watch this play. Created not by actors, but by these youngsters. And maybe in between some sequences, the play stops. And the facilitator comes and says, what is happening here now? And the audience says, this is now tension. Inga tension irukku, and very soon it's going to be fighting. Why? Because the village knows. Villagers know that in their own village, they know when tension comes up. You see? So they say, I threw the play, but the play is the medium. This is not real tension. The play becomes the medium for the tension to get expressed. I'm hoping everybody gets what I'm saying, because this is very frustrating. Now I am going on talking, but I have no idea what you are receiving. So as I keep saying, if anybody has a problem, they have to message me. Now, so sometimes the audience can get up and say, now there's going to be a fight, or you must stop the fight. We can't let the fight continue, because we know the next moment will be that they're going to kill each other. Then the facilitator can say, then what do we do? What shall we do? No, call them. Give them another drink. Let them drink some more wine. Get their brains a little bit cooler. Give them some more food, some good meat or some good biryani. Then their minds will soothe. Then let them talk. The audience is saying. So these youngsters who have made Romeo and Juliet, they have also practiced to give up Romeo and Juliet to the play and take the audience suggestion. Audience has said, idella vanda. We want to see these warring parties talking to each other. So then these young actors, they will then put a table on or they will sit on the ground. They will, chatai they will spread, and they will sit, and they will ask the audience, how do you want me to be? Do you want, each character, you want me to be angry? Or should I? No, be really angry. Next character, how do you want me to be? Juliet will ask the audience, how do you want me to be? Then they will sit down, and these young actors, this is a very important device in applied theatre, they have to improvise. There is no script. There is no script. They are improvising for 5 or 7 minutes because the villagers, the audience has said, we don't want to fight. And at the end of this improvisation, the facilitator will come in again and say, now is the problem solved? So Romeo can marry Juliet now? No. Romeo can't marry Juliet because this is a caste problem or this is a whatever problem. It's not so simple. So you see, this is how an applied theatre goes on and on. And maybe at the end of this exercise, there is no solution. No solution has been found. But certainly, the theatre exercise has raised a lot of important questions. Number one. Number two, the whole village or a large part of the village has sat together, and through the medium of a theatre experience, they have looked at their own real life issues. I hope you're with me. I hope you're with me. So let me just end by saying a few things about what it is to be a good applied theatre practitioner. In my dictionary, number one, You've got to be the best listener in this world. Listen, listen, listen with your ears. You have to listen with your eyes, listen with your nose, listen with your heart, listen with your body. Listen to what people are saying and thinking and feeling. Not talking, just listen. And keep noting little things. Number two, I would say, um, you must know what it is to be playful. Don't become some very serious, many people, many NGOs, many activists, the word activist. They become very serious because they are every day dealing with people's issues. One day it's about rape. The other day it's about prisoners. The third day it is about, Mr. Modi these days, every day he does something which makes us very sad. So activists are extremely sad today. But you as a theater practitioner have to keep inside your sense of playfulness. You understand playfulness? We are in the business of theater. Theater means play. Theater means improvise. Theater means I'm in the moment and I have my idea, my body and mind is ready for play. And if you want to get into play, you have to have a sense of, what should I say, joy in your heart. The play doesn't have to be joyful, but you must have joy in your heart. Number three, you have to be very, very good at, it goes with listening, walking with people. I will listen to what my group is saying, and and if I'm the leader, then I can listen, and make an idea and say, let's go like this. But it will be based on what everybody else has contributed, or at least majority have contributed. One more very good, very important quality of an applied theatre practitioner, who I will also call facilitator, is that for them, the art has to be as important as the education. So let me give you an example. Let's, I think you've had enough of looking at my face. Please turn on that PPT. Because I'll give you that last thing that I want to say about the facilitator. I will say after showing these images. So let's have PPT, please. And full screen for the
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah,
full
ma'am.
screen for the participants.
Yeah, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, so do I take it that everybody, the first picture, please, first image. This is not the first image.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I've already made this clear, the difference between applied drama and applied theatre. Next. Okay. Now, this is to give you an example. I hope it's showing full screen on your laptop screens. Full screen, yeah? Somebody is saying they can't see the PPT.
Yeah, wait, ma'am.
Yeah, full screen. Now, you see, a whole applied theatre exercise could start like this. It's a medieval painting. And I could say, let's make a medieval play. It could be children with children, or it could, no, not children. Applied theatre is usually adults. I can do a drama workshop with children starting like this, where there is, there are two levels of the boat. On top are sitting, you can see there are musicians and there is some very rich man. And below, there's some very interesting action going on. Next image. Now that is an applied theatre exercise or a drama and education exercise can start. The best thing to do is to start with questions. You must be a very good questioner. By the way, that's a damn good skill for a facilitator, applied theatre. You must learn to ask really good questions. Now, the question I would ask is she being dropped into the sea, or is she being pulled out of the sea? We don't really know. And the participants, through the whole process, And if we break up, let's say we have a group of 20 people, 20, let's say this is a drama and education for children. And if they are 10, 12-year-olds and there are 25 children, they will break up into 5, 6 groups. And each of them will make a little scene to do with whether that woman is being dropped into the sea or pulled out of the sea. Now, why have I chosen this? This is what makes us different from the rest of the world. We are theater practitioners. We deal with emotions. And you as an artist, that's why I say art is as important as education. Keep your artist self very high. Artists deal with emotions. I have chosen a picture that is deep with emotion, isn't it? For the girl who is either going to go into that sea or being pulled out of that sea, it's a hugely emotional moment. For the two men who are either dropping her into the sea or pulling her out is also an emotional moment. Maybe one of them doesn't want to drop her. And if one group of children say, no, she's being pulled out of the sea, it could be that one of the men who's pulling her out of the sea does not want to pull her out of the sea. So it's full of emotion. There is a man with a red shirt behind. There's a man, one man is holding his hand high. What is he saying? You see, so a whole applied. But remember, you must always keep your artist self supreme. There must also be the educationist in you, but you must be the artist. Okay, next slide. Next, please. Now, okay. Now this is I did a most of my work, by the way, is in drama and education or theater and education. So I'm showing you some examples. So I took a chapter from the Class 5 NCRT book. You can see it online. This chapter. It's called Jatriya Bhai. And it's from the NCRT EVS textbook. And it's a story of a man who has to leave his village because they're building a dam. And then he goes off to his whole family. Many families are taken and they are rehabilitated in some other place. And then from there, he is so upset. Then they all move to Bombay. And so it is a story about migration for 10, 11-year-olds. Now, what I did was, I did not enact the whole story. And I did this as a teacher's workshop. So, show the next slide, please. I just started with some objects. As you can tell, in North India, this is called gamcha. I don't know in Tamil what you say. So that red gamcha is what laboring men usually tie around their heads. But it is also sometimes what they also tie their roti something in it, and when they go to the field for farming. And that little toy, that by the way is a toy, but it's not a modern toy, as you can see. And there's also a scrap on it. I wrote a letter. And I started my drama and education exercise. It was based on that chapter, but I started with these objects. So when you do an applied theater workshop, you have to do a lot of planning. Now, why did I come? My job as an applied theater practitioner is to generate curiosity among the participants. If I'm to do a scene from Romeo and Juliet, the audience, the participants sitting there must be immediately attracted. Because once they are attracted, then I can start pulling out issues for them to engage with. But if in the first moment they are not filled with curiosity, no, don't show next one. If they are not filled with curiosity, then the applied theater event will not succeed. So remember that you must be full of curiosity about the world, and you must know how to generate curiosity in your audience. And I'm not going to go into the details, but that whole story about that Jatriya Bhai and his family having to migrate, I didn't tell the story. I started with these three objects. And I had to think of doing it artistically, so that when I deal, now this is that same cloth. When I'm dealing with that cloth and there are a whole bunch of 11-year-olds sitting in front of me, I have to use this cloth in just those 2 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds. The children must feel many things. I'm not speaking. I didn't say any text, but I must draw them, and I'm drawing them through this object. So remember that your art is very important, because otherwise in applied theater, it is very, very easy to become, what should I say, like giving a speech. We must not allow rape in our society. The rapist must be hanged. This is terrible. There is, we get all like this, bhashan giving. No. That's not your path. Your path is through the art. Your body has to be expressive. Your body must be used in a way that you get the audience to think, not to suffer. This is every applied theater practitioner won't say this to you. But in my dictionary, most real issues in the world are to do with suffering. But an applied theater practitioner never makes the participants suffer. You make them think, you make them feel, you make them create beauty. You make them respond to the beautiful scene you have created. But the audience or the participants, they don't suffer, even while you are talking about suffering. I hope you're getting me. I hope you're getting me. So this is very critical. Next. So then I also did with the National School of Drama as a theatre and education company, and we decided to do a play about how people live with very minimum, and yet they conduct their whole life. And so the people who live in the near the North Pole, they're called the Inuits or Eskimos. We did a lot of research around them and how they live and how they hunt. And then we got 8-year-olds to participate in the hunt. So when the actors go for the hunt, the children are also, some of them are going for the hunt. So it was called Igloo. Next. So we just created, this is the theatre and education company, but we gave a lot of emphasis to that they should look like Eskimos, that they should think like Eskimos, so that the children are attracted to them. What is this? And all this is in their classroom, or it's a very small space we use, or maybe in some hall in the school, but there's no stage. Next. This is the igloo. You know that they make these little ice, snow homes for themselves. And for our children, this was very astonishing, that people live in a home made of ice, and it's small. And this woman is sitting and sharpening her spear, because later on they're going to go for a hunt. And the children are going to become part of that hunt. But here, the actors of the TIE company, they had to do a lot of research on how those people lived, what were their dreams, what were their stories. Next. What were their games? So this is a igloo family where 2 boys are playing some game in the cold. Next. And now they're getting ready for the hunt. Now children love this, particularly little boys love this. When they're getting ready, all their weapons and their spears, and how they were. And also this thing about, you don't kill an animal out of anger. You kill the animal for survival. And you only kill a very few because you know that animals, they're part of nature and they have to multiply. So people who live close to nature will never demolish nature. Today we have demolished nature and we are all sitting in lockdown. But the Eskimos understand nature much better. Next. Now you see the Eskimo is getting, this is in a school, and after doing some bit of the drama, Then the Eskimo hunter asks the children, "You want to come on a hunt?" And then he prepares the children for what will you do? How will you watch for the animal? As soon as we kill the animal, will you just pounce, or what will you do? Then there's some ritual to do around the animal. So it's also this thing of respecting nature. Next. This was another program I did. I won't go into details, but I'm just showing you how you can set up if you're doing drama and education. This is just a piece of canvas cloth. And on it, we painted, some landscape. And the children were sitting all around. And we created a drama. This is only two actors. And we created a drama about partition. It's not about India and Pakistan, but how two friends become enemies. And then the children also then participate in the play. Next. See, these are the two friends, and they're fighting over some doll. And this friend of mine, by the way, the other person you see, she's a British woman, because long ago in the 1980s, I was in England where I first came in touch with theatre and education. And then 25 years later, after I came back to India, I invited her to come to India, where we are both old women now. And then when we first met, we were 29 years old, and we made a wonderful program in England. And then I invited her here after 20, 30 years, and together we made this story about two best friends. Next. Next. And then the character who I'm playing dies, and dies on the border of this new country that has got divided. And you can see the blood and the children get immediately very, very fascinated. Next. And then the ghost of that friend returns. Children love ghosts. And the ghost comes to talk to the other friend. And the other friend is so frightened. And you can see that little plastic ribbon, that is the barbed wire between the two countries. And of course, the ghost can go to any country it likes. It doesn't have to stay on one side of the border. Next. And the ghost finds the toy. Or actually, the ghost recreates the toy, because the ghost belongs to a magical world. Next. Next. And then we only take the story up to a point where the ghost comes and goes, and then we tell the children, you carry the story forward now. So then they break up into groups, and each group creates its own story. And then when the groups come back, we have to then try and create small scenes from each of the groups. But what is our underlying intention again in this program? The intention was, what creates animosity? What creates this suspicion of the other one? Through religion, through caste, through whatever. What creates that sense of difference? Children are dealing with that. But they're not dealing with it on a surface. We are not telling them, oh, what is caste, what is religion? No, it's all through the story of these two best friends. Next. So this is all the writing. They express their thoughts, and then either we or one of the children write them down. Next. Then I did a program called Pandita Ramabai. I won't go into too much detail because now we're really crossed a lot of time. But this was again a participatory theatre and education program. You can read about Pandita. She was the most amazing woman who lived in British India. And she was born a Brahmin in Maharashtra. And her father, lived by simply reciting shlokas and doing death ceremonies. And they had nothing to eat, nothing. All that they got was what people would give them in their rice bowl. And finally, they started walking. This girl had walked 3,000 kilometers. 3,000 kilometers she has walked. She lost her parents while walking. There was only brother and sister left. And they walked and walked. They walked to Kashmir. They walked to Bengal. And when she reached Bengal, because the social reform movement was happening in Bengal, there the big pundits, they welcomed her. They couldn't believe that she's looking so bedraggled like a street urchin. And they called her Pandita. And then her brother also died, and she was left alone. Now, this woman went and married a Christian. Can you imagine in those days, a Brahmin girl, she went and married a Christian boy. And then he also died. Then she left Bengal and came back to Maharashtra, and she set up the first child widow school and child widow home. Now, we wanted to tell this story to the children, but we didn't want to do a straight play. Children must participate. So then you have to create an intention. What will make the children participate? And so our intention was, under what circumstances do people take very difficult decisions? Pandita Ramabai had taken very difficult decisions in her life. And once you take those decisions, even if they're going against society, what will be the outcome of those? Maybe you will be made to feel alone. Maybe you'll have to go, I don't know, in different societies it's different. So the children then, firstly, they get completely involved in Pandita's life. Now, this is what I mean by the artist in you, and with your emotions, you make the children involved in Pandita. So that when Pandita has to make that important decision, that she will become a Christian from a Brahmin, will these children support her? You know? So we make the children take that decision. And of course, children are also subject to different kinds of impressions. And later on, Pandita, she had to shut down the school because the trustee members of the school said, "You are making all the girls into Christians. We won't allow this. Good Hindu girls are becoming Christian. You are making, once the girls' hair is shaved, they're growing their hair, they're wearing colorful saris. What is all this nonsense?" You know what Pandita did then? She left India. She got into a boat. She traveled to America. She collected money. She came back and she rebuilt her school. So this is this amazing woman. But we did it as a participatory program. Next. That is Pandita Ramabai. And next. And of course, that girl you see there, and we created great detail to costume and research. And the children are sitting on both sides of the actors. Next. So it's another world, you see, it immediately raises the curiosity for the children. Next. Next. And that's the facilitator. He's wearing 21st century clothes. And he's facilitating between the children and the characters. And who are the characters? Very important freedom movement leaders who had supported her school. Next. That's the facilitator and a child widow. Now, I want to tell you this. It's very, very interesting. This the person who's playing the child widow, part of Ramabai's ashram, it's a male actor. Now, very soon, this male actor is going to go and sit amongst the children. And in the beginning, this actor was very, very shy. All the men were very shy in the company, that if we go and sit in front of the children and let them talk to us, they're going to start laughing because they're going to say, "Arey, you're a male actor. We know you're not a child widow." But with training within the company and believing in Ramabai's stories, these male actors became ready to. Next, you'll see these. Can you see the children sitting in the corner? They're sitting very close to the actors. There's no separation between actors and audience. Next. This is a very moving sequence from the play. From the actors have created this, where the whole family is walking. Father in front, brother, mother, sister. And please remember, Ramabai's mother was only just a few years older than her, meaning she was about, 12, 13 years older, because in those days, you know that it was child marriage. Next. And here the mother is teaching the daughter Sanskrit. But we used various artistic, not sitting and pradhana like we do in real life. We did it through a lot of body movement. And she's teaching her shlokas. And the daughter is questioning the mother, why is this shloka saying this? Next. Now, can you see that same male actor who is
Hello.
playing a child widow? The children are sitting close to
சொல்லுங்க
the
சொல்லுங்க
character, and the character is telling them, now we've got this big
ஒன்றும்
problem.
பிரச்சனை இல்லை அது
Our
முடிய
school
போகுது
is
இல்லை
shutting down,
ப்ரோக்ராமும்
our ashram is shutting down, we'll be sent home, and my parents
லெசன்
will
போயிட்டு இருக்கு
never treat me the way Ramabai treated me. I will have no freedom at home. Here I have all the freedom. But look how close the children are sitting. That whole line between theatre and audience has been completely broken. It's a very moving moment. And the actor is playing with full belief that I am a woman, I'm a child widow, and the actor has to be very ready to answer any question that the child asks. If the child says, what do you eat in the morning? The character has to answer in character. And you can see other groups behind, where there are separate groups, they're all meeting different characters of the play. Next. It's another scene, the father and daughter, father's teaching her shlokas. Next. That's another character. This is a child widow who was allowed to grow her hair and wear colorful saris. And look how engaged those girl students are. They're completely believing her as a real life character. This does not happen in real theatre. In real theatre, when we see actors on stage, we know they are actors. But here, these children are treating her like a real person. That is the strength of applied theatre. Next. And this is a meeting between the children who are telling the leaders, you can't shut down the school. You will have to support them. You see, because they completely take the side of Ramabai. And the facilitator is facilitating. And next. You can see that same child widow sitting among the children at the back. Next. Okay, so let's stop the PPT, please. And let's come back. And I'm going to leave you for a few minutes if there are any questions. And then you can put them up here. And but let's end the session here. There's so much that can be said. But yeah, I've said everything now, and there's so much more. But this was just to give you a taste of what it is. I can tell you one thing. When I first discovered theatre in education and drama in education, I gave up being an actor. I didn't want to be an actor on stage anymore because this was just so much more fulfilling to become a character and go really close to children and they're believing you. And you have to play with belief. Many years I didn't do theatre. But then I later came back and now I do, of course, solo theatre. Now I don't do so much applied theatre. Okay, so questions, please. If there are any. My God, we are 50 minutes over that. Or you can sit and think for a while. It's lovely to just sit, but we are all sitting here together. We have
Thank you,
shared something together.
Excuse me, we do have some questions, ma'am. I can
What
read
was
it
that
out.
question? Ma'am, if you could talk about privilege, please show that question again. Can I see the questions? Where do I see the questions? Chat.
In the chat box. I can read it out to you, ma'am, if you want to.
Let's see. If you could talk about privilege. Is there any practice of doing theatre of the oppressed with the oppressors? Well, firstly, let me say to you, I don't look at the world, society, as oppressed and oppressor. Because for me, society is far more complex. Of course, within society, there are people who do oppress, but they also lead a life. And tomorrow, if my intention is to make the oppressor feel guilty, then I don't think that's a good applied theatre project. You can't call a whole lot of factory owners and say, I'm going to do an applied theatre project with you where I'm going to tell you how you oppress society. That means you are doing only your own intention. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Somewhere the participants also have to feel that this workshop is for them. So you can't say I'm going to do a workshop for the oppressors. And secondly, I'd like to say, actually in society, there are many, many moments where we are both the oppressed and the oppressor. We all know that in schools, the biggest bully is that boy or girl who at home is being bullied by somebody, either her parents or some other adult or some other children. So big bullies who do and fight, they are usually being bullied by somebody else. And thirdly, I'd like to say, if you think of, let's say some people think capitalism is a very bad thing and capitalism is oppressing us, you please be very, very aware. You as a theatre practitioner, you're not going to change society. At the most, you can make people change a little bit, shift the way they think, the way they behave. But don't ever imagine that you're going to tell a Tata Birla tomorrow you'll do a theatre exercise and he will stop being Tata and he will stop producing trucks and cars and televisions. That's not going to happen. That's not the job of theatre. The job of theatre is to move people's hearts and minds so they make a shift. So it could be that tomorrow you're doing a workshop and there is some kind of manager or there's some kind of a person, a man or a woman who oppresses, who's sitting there participating. And by going through the experience, they have shifted a little bit. That's what we're looking for. They may not even know that they have shifted. They can't even say it to themselves, but something has happened. You've got to move people. What makes one an oppressor? Well, anybody who does anything at the cost of another individual, where one person does something and that causes harm, bodily harm, mental harm, emotional harm, physical harm to another person, that person is an oppressor. Whether through speech or action. But that is quite different from having democratic debate. If I sit here and say, I don't know, that I will not support those who say that the state has to be run through a religion. I don't think those people must be allowed to come to power who believe that state. I am not oppressing anyone. I'm stating my opinion. So somebody asked, according to you, what makes an oppressor? And please remember that simply bodily harm is not oppressor. I can, through my words, create harm. I can make another person feel absolutely horrible. That is oppression, without touching the person.